Thank you so much for watching this week. First of all, I want to mention that we have our next conference coming up in January, and registrations are pouring in. They were telling me today about more of our platinum members who are signing up. I don't want you to miss out. Space is limited, and I want you to hurry and register on the website at terri.com. This is called the Next Conference because it's all about going to the next level. Whatever God has for you, there's always more. There's always a new level to go to. And I want you to pursue the next dreams, the next goal that God has for your life with a thorough plan of action so that when you start January 2015, you have a plan in place to succeed on purpose. So I'm excited about teaching you how to set goals, how to go after your dreams, and how to come to the end of the year and say, this has been the most amazing year of my life. So hurry up and sign up before space fills up. Now, this week on the podcast, I want to talk to you about something that I believe has happened in my life. I know it has because we've got the results, but something that can happen in your life too if you apply the right principles. Most success coaches recommend that you have a 5-year plan for your life, that you just imagine your life 5 years into the future and you just get it all on paper and then start working backwards. I'm convinced that the next 5 years of your life could be the most rewarding, most productive, most amazing years of your life, or just another 5 years. It's completely up to you and your ability to think, to take the time to imagine what you want to accomplish over the next 5 years. And personally, I think this is the greatest time of the year to start planning for your 2015. The month of December, the month of January, taking the time to sit down and get a plan of action. Well, I like to read about successful people and people who've had 5-year plans for their lives, or people who've achieved amazing things in only 5 years, like Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus. You may have heard the story how they were fired from their jobs, so they created a business model for a home improvement store, and then they went public with their little idea. Within 5 years of losing their jobs, their annual sales were $1 billion when they founded Home Depot. $1 billion in less than 5 years. At age 30, Jeff Bezos was living in a 500 square foot apartment. 5 years later, his net worth was $10 billion when he founded Amazon. Within 5 years. Well, personally, I was asking my CEO not too long ago, I said, what did our ministry look like 5 years ago? In the year 2009, what did the ministry look like? He showed me some numbers, and in a nutshell, our ministry has grown by 600% in 5 years' time. In 2009, our website visits were around 43,000. 2014, over 250,000. Significant growth. Annual sales have multiplied 8 times in 5 years. So, I was sharing some of these financial figures with my dad not too long ago, and I just said, Dad, look what the Lord has done in 5 years' time. And he said to me, Terri, I've seen churches who've been around for 20 years who haven't seen this kind of increase this fast. He said, you need to teach this. Well, that's what I want to share with you today is acceleration can happen in your life if you apply the right principles. That word accelerate means to hasten the progress, to move faster, to speed up, and to complete in less than usual time. So, like I said, what could take 20 years could happen in 3 years if you do the right things. So what I want to talk to you about specifically today to accelerate your progress is a simple thing, and it is commit to think. Make a commitment to just think. Think about your future. Think about yourself. And what I mean by that is literally turning off your cell phone, shutting the door, going somewhere by yourself with a pen and paper and just sit there. And just say, okay, it's the year 2020. It's almost 5 years from now. It's the year 2020. Add up your age in 5 years' time and just think about, what do I want to do over the next 5 years? John Maxwell says, thinking precedes achievement. Nobody just stumbles upon success and then looks around and says, how did I get here? No, the greater your thinking, the greater your potential. I tell people all the time, the things that are happening in my life today, I thought about them yesterday. Yeah, I'm surprised sometimes by the way God does things, but everything that's happening in my life, I thought about it. I've thought about the things we want to achieve. A lot of times people say, don't just sit there, do something. I always say, don't just do something, sit there and just think and imagine what you want to accomplish. You know, you may have heard the story of Peter Daniels, how he was born in Australia to a family that was third-generation welfare recipients. He said he had a learning disability. He failed every grade in school. In fact, his teacher, Miss Phillips, would stand him up in front of the class and say, Peter Daniels, you're a bad boy and you won't amount to anything. Which I can't imagine that happening, but it did. He said, long story short, he decided to go into business after he got out of school, went into business for himself, and he failed miserably and was broke within 1 year. Well, again and again, he went broke 3 times in 5 years, but he would not give up. Well, of course, today, Peter Daniels is an internationally acclaimed businessman. His closest friends include royalty, heads of state, and the leading movers and shakers of the commercial world. He's a philanthropist with a portfolio worth several millions of dollars. But here's the key. When asked, Peter Daniels, what turned your life around from triple indebtedness to unprecedented success? Listen to his answer. I scheduled time to think. He said, in fact, I reserve 1 day a week on my calendar just to think. All of my greatest ideas, opportunities, and money-making ventures started with the days I took off to think. So, thinking precedes achievement. In fact, I've heard where Einstein had a special thinking chair where he did his pondering. He just sat there and thought. What could happen in your life if you just thought about your future? You know, another person I heard about recently, Sara Blakely, multi-millionaire. She was on a show with Warren Buffett and all these wealthy people, and they asked her, they said, Sara, how did this happen in your life? How did you become a multi-millionaire? You know what she said? I sat down and thought. She said, I got very specific, and I asked myself, what am I good at? The answer was sales. She said, what would women want all over the world? To be skinny. What could I create that would help them become skinny? And she invented Spanx. Can all of you women say, thank you, Jesus? But Sara Blakely just sat and thought. Well, you know, I don't have time to go into the story, but when I was in high school, one of my English teachers had my whole class do an exercise, which was literally writing our own obituaries. Now, it sounds really morbid and it sounds creepy, but that was one of the most compelling exercises I've ever done in my life. Well, years later, like in my 30s, I sat down in my little guest room with my laptop and I did it again. I wrote my obituary. I just imagined what would I want people to say about my life at my funeral. Now don't let it creep you out. Let it inspire you to live your destiny, to live what God called you to do. So I sat there and I just imagined as big as I could. And I would never want anyone to read it because it was embarrassing stuff, big things. But I wrote, you know, stuff about reaching the nation of France. Well, when I wrote that, I had only been to France one time, and that was 10 years prior on like a 2-day little trip to see Paris. And then I wrote things about, you know, Terri impacted the business world, and who thought a little feminine, soft-spoken woman would make such an impact on the business world? I said Terri spoke at the largest success conferences in the world. I'd never even been to a success conference at that time, much less spoken at one. I wrote things about books. I'd never written a book at that time. But do you know everything I wrote is currently happening in my life right now? What could happen in your life if you would sit and think? That's the only action step I want to give you this week, because you can do this every day for the next week, is just sit and think about what God has put you on this earth to do, and dream as big as you possibly can. Don't be concerned about other people laughing at it. This is between you and God. Commit to think. So you're going to accelerate your progress if you apply this principle. Now, if you're enjoying these podcasts, I want you to subscribe to this channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter so I can keep you motivated to go after your dreams. Thank you for watching.